Hey guys, welcome back. I've been wanting to try a slightly healthier take on a no-bake cheesecake since I love the dessert so much and can be often found binging on it. So I have lightened it with some Greek yogurt, but you will never be able to tell. It still has that rich, creamy, delicious feel to it, nothing like a low-calorie treat. I've also added some fresh blueberries that I had in my fridge, but you know what? You can add any fruit which you like or just keep it simply plain. So let's get cooking. To make the blueberry no-bake cheesecake, first we set up the base, and the base is generally made of a biscuit base. What I normally do is I take digestive biscuits and I actually crush them. So what I have is basically a fine powder of digestive biscuits here. Instead of making a crumble which is made out of flour and butter, I think it's very easy and it's better and faster to actually buy in ready-made digestive biscuits, crush them into a food processor, or with a rolling pin, you just crush it and you get a fine powder. Now, if you want, you can also add flavoring in this now. So you can add cardamom powder, you can add cinnamon, clove powder, you can add fennel seed. They all work well. They give a very nice flavor. But there's one trick I'm going to show you now. Is the color is quite light, but I want a dark color because the cheesecake is going to be very creamy and white in color. So I want a dark base to contrast. So for that, it's a very simple technique. All you do is basically put cocoa powder in them. So get unsweetened cocoa. So literally a heaped teaspoon of cocoa should do the trick. And you just stir or mix together the cocoa powder and the crumbs, the biscuit crumbs. And you can see the color is already taken on into a dark shade. Now this is quite loose right now. If you put them into a base of a cake tin or into a mold to set, it will not really set well, it will break. So when you cut the cheesecake, it's going to actually break off. So you need to bind it together. So very much like a short crust pastry, it has to be crisp. And the trick for that is by adding melted butter. So you add in the melted butter into the cocoa powder and the biscuit crumb. You just stir it together and it will become literally like a dough. Now you got to keep in mind that butter is basically fat, and when you put them onto a layer of the cake tin and you set it in the fridge for some time, the butter solidifies and becomes hard. So what you would get at the base is a very nice thick layer or a crisp layer of base. You can use any kind of biscuit there. If you want to use a dark biscuit like an Oreo, even that would work well. So just mix it together and see, there you have it. It is like a dough. So this is ready. And I'm going to now, I have a cake tin here. Any extra butter from, I'm going to put it on the sides of the cake tin. I'm greasing the sides and I have a greased butter paper on the base here. So when I take out the cake tin at the end, it will come out quite easily. Then goes in my biscuit base. Now again, the thickness of the base is entirely up to you. I like to keep it quite thin. If you like the dough part and you want to make it thicker, you can always double up the quantity of the butter and the biscuits and make a thick base. And then all you do is just spread that at the base and make it smooth. The biscuit has all been spread at the base very evenly. And now this is now going to go into the fridge for approximately 20 to 25 minutes for the butter to harden. And what you will get is a nice crisp dark biscuit layer at the base. For the no-bake cheesecake, we're going to use just soft cheese, and I'm going to set the cheesecake with some thickener like a gelatin. You can use agar, it works perfectly fine. Normally when you do a cheesecake which is baked, you add egg yolks in them and then you bake the whole thing in the oven and it works well, which is indeed very nice, but I find it very heavy. For the no-bake cheesecake, you need to leave your soft cheese outside for a good 35-40 minutes from the fridge for it to come to room temperature. And the reason for that is, it then is easier to then whisk the cream together. Otherwise, if it's cold cream cheese, it does not mix well. You see that? It's been lying outside for a while, and instantly as you whisk it, it becomes nice and smooth and creamy. Now the base of this is cheese. I am going to lighten it up, and I'm going to use something very unusual you normally don't put into a cheesecake, and that is actually yogurt. But first I've put in some grain sugar. I'm going to whisk the grain sugar and the cheese. Just want to melt the sugar basically. The cheese is nice and smooth. The sugar has melted. You can see it's got a nice gloss because the sugar has melted into it. And then I'm going to add yogurt. You normally add just a cream into it, but I am going to do a mixture of cream and a mixture of yogurt. So it's going to be a little lighter. But first let me just whisk the yogurt to make it smooth. And then goes in the cream. I'm using a whipping cream, or you can use a cooking cream or a double cream. Use a thick cream is better. The mixture is now ready. It's nice and smooth, and that's very important to note that all the stuff which goes into the cheesecake should be nice and smooth. You don't want a grainy texture or a coarse texture. Always the cold cheesecake should have a nice smooth texture. The cream cheese, yogurt, sugar and cream all whisked together. So it's got this sweetness into it. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually add berries in this. I'm going to add blueberry, because blueberry I think will give a very nice color. It will also give a very nice flavor to the dish. And I'm going to reserve a little at the end, and I'm going to use it as a garnish. I'm going to talk to you about that. But first, just fold this berries into the cheesecake. And then I'm going to add in this my setting agent, which is going to be gelatin. So take out all the extra stuff and get my gelatin organized. To set the cheesecake, I'm going to use gelatin powder. You can use gelatin leaves. If you're using gelatin leaves, you've got to soak them into cold water for them to balloon and then melt them down and add to cheesecake. I just find that when you use a powder, it's a lot easier. You can also use agar, which works perfectly fine. So warm water and gelatin, and you just whisk it together till the gelatin melts. Here we have the gelatin is melted. It's nice and smooth, and you need to put it straight away inside the cheesecake. If you let it rest for a while on its own, it will become quite hard, and then again you go to warm it up maybe in a microwave, and again liquidify and then add it. So best is to, at this stage, is to pour the gelatin when it is still slightly warm. And all you do is you mix together the gelatin with the cheesecake mixture. And because it is slightly warm, the cheese softens up further, but that is perfectly okay. It's not going to split. It's not really hot. But just form a smooth mixture. You see that? The gelatin has to spread into the cheesecake mix. There we are. This cheesecake blueberry is set. Let's get in our cake tin with the biscuit base, and you can see it is nice and firm at the moment. It's really hardened. The butter has become hard, and all you have to do is now just pour the blueberry cheesecake on top of the biscuit base. Spread it across. I'm going to lightly tap the cheesecake mixture, and that is now ready to go in the fridge for another 30 minutes to solidify, and then set to be served. There are many ways to garnish a cheesecake. You can add chocolate chips, you can make chocolate flowers, you can make chocolate strands, you can do shards of chocolate, you can make tui, you can do spun sugar. There are many variations you can do. But for a very simple use, I'm going to show you how to do a little bit of a blueberry, which you can slightly transform in a very simple manner. You could probably make it into a coulis or a puree and you can sprinkle it. That will also work well. But a very simple way to enhance a very simple dish and keep it very rustic is literally by cutting your blueberries into half and adding a tiny quantity of icing sugar. Yes, just plain simple icing sugar. And all you do is you lightly toss them together and you gently crush them slightly. Now what happens when you crush them very gently, they begin to release their flavors and their color of the blueberry, which is actually very nice. And this can just go like a little like a soft like a salsa or like a fruit salad kind of a topping on top of the cheesecake. Very simple, very good effect to have onto your cheesecake and also very nice flavor. So I'm going to let that rest for 8 to 10 minutes at room temperature. And once the cheesecake is set, we're going to slice it into a wedge and maybe into a rectangle. I'm not sure how I'll do it, but we'll make it interesting. There you are. Cheesecake is now ready. I'm going to demold it, and there's a little trick I'm going to teach you how to get it out very easily. I've got a high cake tin but smaller in diameter than this one here. So best is to just keep this on the board or the table, and you put your cake tin with the cheesecake and just press it down. Instead of lifting it up, it's a problem. So just press it down and voila. There you have. The cheesecake is now demolded. Off it goes. And now I'm going to take it off from the bottom and then slice it and have a nice wedge of my no-bake blueberry cheesecake. The cheesecake is done. I'm going to get a nice wedge. So wipe off the extra. Get a nice clean wedge. Oh, that sound of the cutting of the cheesecake. The brace is so nice. You can wipe it off and let's have a look. There you have. And then it goes onto the plate. Now the cheesecake is so delicate, the flavors are so balanced and simple, and you don't need much to go. Now classically, a cheesecake should be has on its own. I'm going to only add on top of that is my blueberries. The final garnishes are going to be my blueberries, which were lightly dusted with icing sugar, and they also have released their own juices, which is quite nice. I'm going to put one more piece and that is it. And lastly, the little garnish of silver leaf, and that's about it. So here you have my no-bake cheesecake flavored with blueberries, and the base has got biscuit with cacao powder. Simple dish, elegant but lots of flavor. Do try it at home, make it for your friends and family, and don't forget to leave your comments on the section below. Until next time, bon appetit and happy cooking.